before anyone in the Bible ever called God a name. It wasn't Abraham. It wasn't Moses. It wasn't Jacob. It was a broken, abandoned, pregnant slave girl crying alone in the desert. This is the untold story of Hagar, the woman God saw when no one else did. Her story starts in Egypt, but not as a free woman. She was property, a servant girl given to Sarah, caught in the grand story of a promised family that wasn't hers. Hagar never had a voice, never had a choice, and certainly never had a future that belonged to her. When Sarah couldn't conceive, a desperate plan was put into action. Hagar was forced into a role she didn't choose, to carry a child for her master, Abraham. For a brief moment, she might have felt valued, finally seen, but that feeling vanished as quickly as it came. The moment she conceived, the atmosphere in the home shifted. Pride, jealousy, and bitterness filled the air. The place that was supposed to be a home of promise became a house of hostility. Sarah, her mistress, began to mistreat her, and the cruelty became so unbearable that Hagar knew she couldn't stay another moment. So she ran. She fled into the vast, unforgiving wilderness with no plan, no water, and no destination. There was only the blistering sun, the endless sand, and the tears streaming down her face. The desert has a way of stripping everything away, of exposing the raw truth of the heart. And Hagar's heart was breaking. Pregnant, abandoned, and utterly exhausted. She had no reason to go back, and no strength to move forward. She was trapped between a past she couldn't endure, and a future she couldn't imagine. At a spring of water, on the road to Shur, her body gave out. She collapsed, believing this was the end. This was the place she would die. But in that moment of absolute despair, heaven broke the silence. A voice called out, not to a nameless slave, but to her. Hagar, servant of Sarah. Where have you come from, and where are you going? Think about that. He didn't just say woman or slave. He called her by her name. This wasn't just any angel. The text suggests this was the angel of the Lord, a physical manifestation of God himself. The same God everyone thought was only concerned with Abraham and his great destiny was now sitting beside a rejected, pregnant servant girl in the middle of nowhere. He met her in her misery. The message he gave her was one of impossible hope. God has heard your misery. He said, return to your mistress. You will have a son, and you will name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard you. For the first time in her life, Hagar realized something profound. God sees the unseen. God listens to the unwanted. God remembers the forgotten. With trembling lips, she uttered a name for God that had never been spoken before. You are El-Roi, she whispered. The God who sees me. Before any prophet, king, or patriarch gave God a name, this suffering woman did. She defined God not by his power or majesty, but by his intimate, personal compassion. She saw him, seeing her. God told her, return to your home. I will be with you. And Hagar walked back, not as a victim returning to her abuser, but as a woman with a divine promise, strengthened by a God who sees. She went back to face her reality, but this time she wasn't alone. Ishmael was born, and for 13 years, a fragile peace settled over the household. But then, the unbelievable happened. Sarah, in her old age, conceived and gave birth to Isaac, the child of promise. And just like that, everything changed again. The old jealousy and tension flared up, fiercer than before. One morning, Abraham woke Hagar, gave her a loaf of bread and a skin of water, and sent her and her young son, Ishmael, away, back into the desert. This time, it wasn't her choice. She was expelled, cast out with next to nothing. The two of them wandered aimlessly under the scorching sun until the last drop of water was gone. Ishmael, weak and dehydrated, collapsed under a bush. Hagar couldn't bear it. The agony of watching her child die was too much. She walked a short distance away, sat down, and wept. It was the most painful cry a mother can utter, a cry of total helplessness. But the God who saw her by the spring years ago had not forgotten her. His voice cut through her sobs. Hagar, what is the matter? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there. Then, something miraculous happened. The Bible says God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. The well had been there the whole time. She just couldn't see it through her tears and her despair. Sometimes, a miracle isn't a sudden appearance of something new. Sometimes, the miracle is God opening our eyes to see the provision that was right in front of us all along. She filled the skin with water, gave her son a drink, and they survived. Hagar's story didn't end in destruction. It was forged into destiny. She raised Ishmael in the wilderness. He grew up to be strong, a skilled archer, the father of a great nation, just as God had promised. The forgotten woman became the matriarch of a people. The story of Hagar teaches us a powerful truth that every hurting heart needs to hear. God sees you, not the polished version of you that people see and applaud, but the real you, the one crying quietly in your own desert where you think no one is watching. Your pain is not invisible to him. Your quiet tears are not wasted. Your story is not over. The God who met Hagar at her lowest point, who saw her when she felt worthless, is the same God who sees you right now, in this very moment. He is El-Roi, the God who sees you. Thank you for watching. If this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe for more content that explores the deeper narratives of faith.